Well, the big question on a lot of people's minds today is, how does today's ruling affect me? News 13's Victoria Dunkle sat down with a public policy expert to try and make sense out of a very complex decision.
Thanks, Tammy. Well, joining us now, Roger Hartley is a professor of political science and public affairs at Western Carolina University. Roger, good to see you. So the president has said this individual mandate is not a tax, but today the U.S. Supreme Court said that it was. Why is that?
It's an extremely fascinating situation here. The big issue here is that Justice Roberts ended up joining the foremost liberal members of the court, Justice Roberts being a conservative, and used the argument that it was a tax to uphold the individual mandate and the entire Affordable Care Act, as it turns out.
So how's the individual mandate going to help people who don't currently have insurance and maybe can't afford it?
Well, the big thing that it does is the individual mandate essentially allows individuals who cannot afford health care plan to get a subsidy from the government on a sliding scale, dependent upon how much you can afford, so that then you will be able to buy private insurance from a private insurer. This actually brings private insurers somewhere between possibly 20 to 40 million new customers, as it turns out.
Okay, so what happens, though, if someone refuses to purchase the health insurance under that mandate?
Great question, Victoria. I mean, that's the big part of the individual mandate, of course, was if you can afford to buy the insurance, then you are forced to buy it. You're forced to pay into it, just as we are forced to pay into Social Security, or as we are forced to pay our taxes for roads, schools, and everything else. The idea is that if everyone pays into it, and if we help people who can't afford it to pay into it, then the overall cost will go down over time because more people will be buying it.
Okay. Well, here's the other question, though. Mitt Romney has promised that if he becomes president, he's going to repeal this. So if President Obama loses in November and the Republican administration tries to move forward with this, what's their alternative if they repeal the health care reform? Well,
first of all, this is going to be really interesting. In the next few weeks, the Republican Congress is going to try to repeal it immediately, to be honest, but they have very little chance of doing so, as I think you're getting at in your question. The Senate will no way go along with the House on that. The issue for Mitt Romney, though, is going to be this, and that is that a large portion of this law is extremely, extremely popular with Americans. They just don't like the mandate, and it's kind of that way for most of us as Americans. We like to get goodies, but we don't like to have to pay for them when we don't have to pay for them. You know, the provision that allows individuals to keep their insurance even with a pre-existing condition, covering young people up until the age of 26. Those are really, really popular with Americans. So the quandary there for the new president, if there is a new president, is do you overturn this law and have a huge backlash on the things that people like in order to get rid of the mandate that people don't like?
Roger Hartley, thank you so much for being with us and answering some questions for us.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.